何パーセント好きくらいを恋というのかな。
Man, chicken tenders are delicious. So, if you're unaware of who I am, I like anime. I like a lot of different kinds of anime. I like romance, I like action, I like adventure, I like most everything outside of horror. Thriller gets dumped in with that shit too, by the way. I can't stomach some things, and I'd like to think that that's okay. Sometimes things break past all of my previous barriers, like Higurashi, yet the barriers don't stay broken. If you had to pinpoint my favorite kind of anime, I'd probably say romance adjacent. Characters will always hold a deeper place in my heart than most other things, and I think that shows in my work. A greater story at play won't mean much to me if the players within it aren't keeping things going. Sure, you can say that a character is what makes the story, but that's not true. You've played Titanfall 2, haven't you? Well, you should. It's like $30. Go play Titanfall 2. The story in that game is paper thin at best. It's like watching an episode of Captain Planet until you realize that the character interactions within that episode of Captain Planet are some of the most fun you can have while playing what is ostensibly a military shooter. Granted, it's one with the best mobility of any game that I have ever played, Team Fortress 2 included, but that's not here or there. I can't help but get sucked in when I see characters just interact with each other and prove that they have more chemistry than any other pairing that the writers could come up with. I can't help but enjoy when people love each other. I mean, don't we all want that? Don't we all, deep down, want someone you can enjoy being with at all times? I'm not even talking strictly romantic or sexual or anything like that. Platonic friends, people you can just enjoy being around and call your friends. Best friends, even. Just go buy your friends a bouquet of flowers. They would all enjoy it. I'm not even fucking being in character right now. Just do it. They would love it. Because of this, I find myself just opening up to a premise more and more because I may get a kick out of it. I may eventually grow to love it, even. Maybe designs will speak to me, the actual interactions between characters themselves, just the way things come together. And that's where an anime like this comes in. Now, first off, I'm not going to bullshit you and tell you that there's some genius plot at play to get things going. I can and will be the first person to tell you that the setup is just fucking awful. Couples training, called a marriage practical in the series, is a contrived reason for a boy and a girl to be put together and be in various states of vulnerability. It's not something I would call genius, or good, for that matter. I'm fully able to respect people who read the My Anime List description and turn away, but if you can accept that little bit of text, maybe not think about it as much, you're gonna have a better time. It's not like the series doesn't bring up people who are unhappy with the heteronormative worldview of a school assignment based on being a quote-unquote perfect couple, but it's pushed to the sidelines, for better or for worse. Now, if you're me, eternally curious as to how deep a rabbit hole can go, you just kind of stir this into the mix and move on. I actually kind of like this hand-waved reason for our introverted main guy and extroverted Gyaru main girl to get together. It's a classic pairing. If there's anything you want to understand about me, I love it when people who are seemingly the total opposite learn from each other and change over the course of the series, realizing how exactly they feel about one another. And this could mean literally anything. I like seeing two people become better friends as time goes on, or eventually realize that they actually are romantically interested in each other through their shared experiences. I like consuming media that holds a certain heart between two characters, whatever that heart ends up being. Wait, why is JoJo on screen? What the fuck? For obvious reasons, I love Akari. I love her style, I love her hair, I love her nails, the earrings, the whole thing. I love Gyaru subculture. It's incredibly deep and all about self-expression. Akari as a character is just really fun. How she teases Jiro, how she expresses her own vulnerability to him, how the little things he can do catch her off guard. The way she cares as a loving wife, even a mock wife, is very endearing to me. Jiro is a fun person to watch kind of get over himself as the series progresses. For worse, absolutely, I have seen a lot of myself in him. Apologies front-loaded before he even figures out what's wrong, immediately take on all the responsibility in situations gone wrong or arguments, stuff like that. He can't see why anyone would like him, always refers to himself as someone like me, which is a point of contention for Akari, who starts enjoying his company, to say the least. For many reasons, I've generally strayed away from relatability as a metric for how good a character is and how much I like them. Sometimes it's enough where I see my own mistakes and how to move past them. I'm the first person to admit that nothing works out like it does in a stupid anime rom-com, but I'd also like to think that I'm smarter than people would give me credit for. Unlike Jiro, I have someone who I always try to make proud with everything I do, even if I fail. And I do fail. A lot. Much like Toradora, this anime is about two characters who are into completely different people and eventually find themselves being attracted to each other. Toradora was a lot more slow-paced. A lot of the reasons for the characters being drawn to one another was vague, at best, aside from ideals of relationships. But at the end of the day, it was about the relationship between Ryuji and Taiga, albeit you were kind of stumbling into that at the end, much like the main characters. This anime front-loads you with superficial reasons. Akari likes the pretty boy Tenjin because, well, look at him. He's a nice guy, he's single, he's got all the attention. Jiro likes his childhood friend Shiori for, well, honestly, we don't know why. Even in the manga, as it stands as of chapter 57, it's not explained why he originally fell for her. His nature as an introvert led to him not talking to many girls as he grew older. The only person he was able to consistently stay with was Shiori, and I'm assuming the bond between them just grew naturally. It's classic. As the series goes on, the bond between Jiro and Akari grows as time, in terms of episodes and in world, moves forward. Akari begins asking what his preferences are in certain things, what he enjoys, teases him in ways that he shrugs off as being non-important. It's a good time watching her realize that she's enjoying his company, even if it wasn't her idea to be together. Jiro puts in less work, to be completely honest, but he's constantly unsure of what to do or what to say, or even how what he does is affecting those around him. It's rather selfish of him to constantly just put the blame on himself and assume he's in the wrong, and I felt that wholeheartedly. Despite that, he's ready to try something new, make his wife feel better through things she asks of him. He's just a decent guy at the end of the day, stuck between two worlds, and he's unsure where his allegiances lie. It doesn't help that people are constantly on his ass about certain happenings, or the what could have been. It's actually kind of refreshing that Jiro himself, while admitting that he has crazy thoughts about girls because he's a regular straight male, so of course he does, he's not always externalizing those thoughts to others, unlike his male best friend and the other guy who's not worth talking about. It's also nice that Akari, despite looking and sounding like the obvious type to be dragged by the feet into doing perfect couple shit with a guy she's not into, doesn't constantly mouth off that fact. Like, she's into another guy, Jiro's into another girl. It's established that they want to switch partners, but how they talk about it to each other is effective to each other. It's both a mutual support thing, but they both, Akari especially, recognize that they still have to make the most with what they've got at the moment and get swept up in the flow of things, barely making a complaint unless it's something in a relationship that they can both work on or communicate with each other about. That's another thing. The anime specifically is really good about characters just kind of talking it out. I'm always one to beat my head against a wall with characters refusing to just talk to each other in plain words and get a message across. I understand how hard it can be because you're never sure of how people are going to act, or if you are sure, you're hesitant to do so. I know people do the same with me. I react terribly, but at the end of the day, I do like communication. In this show, I very deliberately see misunderstandings get cleared up because characters just fucking talk to each other, or they both mutually agree that they got the wrong idea. Most of the time, they just recognize that what other people see or hear may or may not be the truth, and good fucking god can we get a round of applause for our main couple just fucking talking to each other. Things do get rocky, things do happen that don't get said, and that's completely okay. They're not an out-and-out couple, and they're definitely not the type of people who share literally everything that happens to them. They're just living their life. One of the things I wanted to bring up when I was realizing that I needed to talk about this show was how it literally looks. I'm never one to take how an anime is produced into account when deciding if I like it or not, but that's a little different while I was watching this. The actual character designs are something that I like a lot, especially with how the main couple contrast with each other. Akari has pink hair and blue eyes, Jiro has blue hair and red eyes, obviously match made in heaven. I love how Akari expresses herself through her uniform and everything that comes with it. Off-shoulder sleeves, the thigh ring, the earrings. The earrings! Okay, look, I know what you're thinking when you see this, but one thing I have just loved seeing from episode to episode was how she changed the little things. Her earrings, her hair, her nails! I loved her nails! In the stock standard beach episode, they're watermelons, and that is my favorite fruit. Watching the show was very easy on the eyes, even in full screen on a bright monitor. The backgrounds were either fully lit and made for stark contrast with the characters that were on screen, or it was soft and atmospheric. I've noticed that a lot of current rom-com anime like to add in lots of post-processing to make things look a lot better, and while that can work and most certainly helps cover up parts of the screen that creators don't want you to pay attention to, as someone who works in the field of producing visual effects, it always felt off to me. And that isn't to say that anime shouldn't embrace post-processing. It should! But Studio Mother knew when to restrain itself. I like that the silhouettes on the characters are very distinct, and just a lot of contrasting things in general. The main couple when paired together are obvious because Jiro is shockingly tall for someone of his demeanor, so he's generally reliable. Akari is smaller, softer, things like that. Sometimes the framing itself is well put together, even if you don't see it that way at first. When I do happen to notice stuff like bloom and bubbles or stuff like that, it's clear that it comes from a character's personal perspective and not a camera set in the world, or an outside shot. It's like how the things out of focus change shape in Toy Story 4 depending on who's the perspective character. It's like a personified lens, and I like that a lot. I like how this anime sounds as well. I can't really tell you how this works because I am far from an expert, but I like that the editors knew when to pull back the soundtrack and just let the dialogue sit on its own. Let the people do the talking, let the natural energy flow. Sure, the music isn't non-existent, but it's there when it's needed and held back when there's nothing that it could possibly add. I liked that a lot. You know, more than a married couple but not lovers, it's a lot like a chicken finger basket. It's nothing new. In fact, it's one of the most stock standard meals you can get at any restaurant ever. But sometimes, it's the way things are lovingly prepared that gets to you. Chicken that's tender, juicy, cooked perfectly, and has a nice crisp to the bite. That's what you're here for. That's this show's main romantic plot. The crispy french fries, that's the thing that relieves you from the pure savory chicken-based terrain that balance things out. That's your style, that's your looks. No good meal served with a potato doesn't start with people tasting the potato first. And what you immediately see is very important when you're watching anime. Does your meal come with bread? I sure hope it does. That's the tasty filling bits that properly round everything out. And that's the macrocosm of how you interpret the anime, however you do it. Last but not least is the sauce. You can't have a chicken finger basket without the sauce. I can't stand this cane sauce. Get the shit away from me. The sauce is what you dip the chicken and fries in. It's meant to tie everything together. It's meant to keep you invested. You're here for the chicken and fries with the sauce. It's impossible to separate the two things, and that sauce is the characters. The looks, the feels, the way they interact, everything. I wanted to talk about this show because, uncharacteristically of me as an anime watching human being, I binged the whole thing in a day. It's like I couldn't put the damn thing down. The pacing is incredible too. That's the fun part. Every episode, despite only being 24 minutes if you include the opening, ending, and the next episode teaser, always felt extremely dense with things to watch. It felt like I was consuming way more than what was meant to be handled within 24 minutes, but nothing ever felt slow, or rushed, or felt like a problem. It was like it all went down very smoothly and deliberately. It was like an hour passed every 24 minutes, and I mean that in the best way possible. It just makes me think that sometimes you want a little treat. Hey everyone, thank you for watching. This has been a video that I have made. I apologize for falling off in January. I had a bunch of things going on. I had to do some photography work. Had to do some stuff. I hope my February comeback was good, and I hope me doing this in March was all good as well. Fun fact, this is my streaming anniversary month over on the SADBOIS channel on Twitch. It's my birthday month along with 75% of the Sad Boys. If you guys want to, I would hope that you guys like this video. Tell me your thoughts in the comments. I do read them all. And maybe subscribe. I'd love to see you guys be here more often.